Well, percenters, welcome back, Coach Tommy. It's been a while. Why James Harden? Rockets stopped passing. Mike D'Antoni podcast, thinking basketball. Curious, but then as soon as I open up, it's October 28, 2022. So I don't know where this is going. Let's watch together.
Houston, it feels to me, you tell me if I'm wrong, like all the principles we've talked about, you brought to Houston in 2017. But at some point there, maybe it's getting more familiar with James Harden. Maybe it's the other personnel around him. Maybe it's the shape of the league. I don't know. At some point, maybe it's the...
Why did they stop passing? Because James Harden creates everything. So if you get that first pass, you're probably open.
Data. 2018, 2019, it feels like you guys realize, actually, if we just create the space and isolate for him as a scorer, that is now the optimal path. It's not necessary. He doesn't need to bring a defender up on the screen or something like that. Am I on track here? Talk me through this sort of last stage of evolution where with Harden, all the same principles we've talked about apply, but you end up with this thing that is more stationary with the other players ultimately on a lot of possessions. Right. And then he's just sort of isolating into all that space that you create with the shooters.
Well, what happened, I think, and I'd have to go back and watch all the games and make sure, but in my feeling is that the defense dictated us to do that more. We were so efficient at the pick and roll, either with Capella rolling or whoever the five was, PJ sometimes, even the 1-2, whatever. And we'd always get the weakest defender on him because they had to switch. If they didn't switch, we would have gone into a lot less one-on-one. And he never came down and went really one-on-one on his, I say never, should never say never, but most of the time he would never go on against their better defender that's on him. So he'd get a matchup that he is either going to get a good shot or he can get into the lane, collapse it, and then we're going to get a shot. So it turned into a one-on-one game, but there was a reason for it because the defense couldn't guard us the other way. And so, especially, everybody starts off guarding right away, and he's just torching, lobs to Capella, throwing out to our three-point shooters. And that year we had Chris Paul also, and the same thing with Chris. Chris, when he came in, James on the bench, our second team was really good. If you look at that year, that second team with Chris running it, usually if we're up 3, we're up 8. If we're down 2, we're up 5. It's like that second group either a lengthened or whatever. And Chris was just a maestro at running our offense and doing it a little bit Nash-like. Harden had to do it like Harden did it. But both of them are good. Both of them are perfect on what they're doing. And so I just think it's a combination of the way the defense, that's what they gave us. That was the best thing. And we tracked that. If that one-on-one was not efficient, we wouldn't do it. But it was doing, if I'm not mistaken, 1.2 something ridiculous. And just for everybody's viewers, like 1.16 a long time was the standard of the best offense an NBA team had. And Golden State, we got to lose that out of
Schroeder.
120, 1.20. But our isolation game was like 1.25 and 1.24. So it's like, why wouldn't we isolate? I mean, people don't like it. Aesthetically, it's not good. I don't love it. I rather pass the ball around. If I had a team that didn't have James Harden, guess what? We'd be passing the ball around. You got James Harden.
You better find a way to stop it.
The best player he can possibly be. It's in my mind. And it has to coincide with winning. We were winning 60 games a year. So it's like, now we got to get over the hump. We got to win a championship. And I thought we had it the third year until Chris went down. Maybe not. Who knows?
Chris Paul has the worst playoff luck, man.
Those guys are hard to beat.
That's why I don't got him.
We had a good chance at him, that's for sure.
Doing good with the Suns.
Yeah.
For some strange reason, he just has fluke injuries with the Clippers, with the Rockets.
I think I know the answer to this now, but I mean, if you guys switched rosters in that series, or either series, you played them in 18 and 19, it sounds like the offensive approach, it might still come from the same principles we talked about, but I think there's an impression that at that point in time, it's like if you switch teams, then Curry would just be the one isolating versus Harden. But it's more that the system formed around him, and I loved what you said about the defense responding, because that's a great point. Teams are switching as a defense mechanism to stop the pick and roll.
Yeah, they wouldn't switch if they could stop the other stuff. They couldn't stop the other stuff. So they put us, and we did the same thing against Golden State. We knew that all their ball movement coming off screens, if we guard them traditionally, they will kill us. Or they would, but so if we could switch everybody.
If you guard them traditionally. So I say this all the time. You can't do what the best people already do. You have to find a different path. You have to break rules. You're definitely going to take a risk and get exposed, but you might be able to find the solution. If you're just chasing the Warriors, doing what the Warriors do, you're never going to win because you don't got Steph Curry. They're the best at doing that. You have to find a different route. And I don't know why a lot of teams just copy and just make lesser versions of it. You got to be willing to take those risks, man. Step outside the box.
And get out there and be aggressive. They went one-on-one all the time. And that's what Steve Kerr was upset because there wasn't the 300 passes or whatever their standard was.
Right.
Well, they could pass all they want to. I don't care because it wasn't penetrating our defense. We could stay in front of them. We had the team, and we could switch everything.
Mike D'Antoni's a good coach. I would say even great coach. But sometimes his experiments work and sometimes they don't. And you kind of get slaughtered if you do an experiment and it goes bad.
They have the best one-on-one player in the world, Kevin Durant. That's not good, but it was not. But if we guard them the other way, they were going to kill us. So at least we had a chance this way to slow them down, and we hoped our offense would be good enough that we could beat them.
Yeah, I had the stat at some point. I think with Paul on the court and Harden on the bench. I know it's more second units, right? But I think to your point, I think the net differential in points you guys had was actually a little bit better than when it was Harden on the court. But I think both of those guys just being able to do that was so powerful. I mean, essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can kind of take the same system, one's on the bench, and you can still say all the exact same principles apply because in both cases I have an all-time level, operator of on-ball point guard, let's say, decision maker, scorer, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. We looked at that and just we didn't have to change anything. Most teams you don't. And I'm not going to change spreading the floor, pick and roll, getting a big guy, put pressure on the rim, try to go in out. But I'm not. Golden State they post up to go out. They don't score from the post up. They just dribble at people and come off, pick screens and stuff. So they have their system. We had a different way. We actually had Harden, who was incredible about the strength and the ability to be able to see and he really liked, and he'd tell me all the time, put that guy there, this guy there, that guy there, and I'll get us 2 points, or 3. So yeah, that's what we did. And again, it wasn't pretty. People can complain. But you
have to coach to the talent you have. The talent is the system.
You have the most efficient offense in NBA history or close to it. Why would you do it? Just because we want to look pretty? All the purists, well, they don't pass the ball.
This is part of the reason why high school games don't change that much because the players come in and out. You get them for varsity level, maybe 3 years if they're really good, 2 to 1 years, and you can't really change much. And it looks so simple to most people, but you have to realize that adults, parents, they all get older, but the high school kids, they're still 16, 17 years old, man. They're always the same age.
I know it's not pretty, but it's
same thing with college. You think, college is so old and routine, but hey, you don't get 20 years or 10 years to work on your game. It's the same game because there's only a certain amount of people and they're always new. They're only 20 years experienced or 20 years old, 18 years old, 17 years old.
Come on, guys. Figure it out.
Thanks so much for...
That's an interesting kind of a little thing. I don't know why he put that out. I just saw it was interesting because why James Harden and the Rockets stopped passing, whereas I say passing is the most important skill in basketball, especially at the high level. Passing to a teammate, passing to the rim. They stopped passing basically. That's kind of a tricky title. They passed they didn't pass like the normal team would. All right, guys. I'll make another one on the Clippers. Until next time, take 14 minutes, 24 seconds, or 1% of your day to get better. Peace.